Mm.
I heard the cat. Where's the cat? Is he doing the test with you?
Outside my room.
He wants to come in. He's not going to help you with the test? Give you all the answers? No?
No,
Where's grandma? She going to help you cheat?
no,
Where's mom?
there.
Where's the teacher?
I don't know.
Right here.
No.
Your mom's watching you, so now you're in trouble. Now you got to perform. All right. Well, we finally got that interest test, 10 tests published. Sheesh. Now we're going to do our interest 11. Are you ready?
No, yes.
All right. So we are going to go to our interest 11 speaking test. CEFR A2. Let's go. Okay. No, again, your reading has improved so much because you do the 2 classes. So, I mean, it really, really helps you. Now, they were talking about, of course, we are talking about Orville and Wilbur Wright. Those are the 2 bicycle mechanics that invented the first plane. But I mean, their studies came from other people before them, right? Lilienthal and Calais and the gliders. All of these people had already started the research, so they continued it. But they managed to actually create the airplane, and they actually designed a motor. I don't think they could build a motor in the 1800s or 1700s. It wasn't until the early 1900s or maybe late 1800s when they started playing with motor designs, because it wasn't long after that where Henry Ford invented the first car. But again, he wasn't the first person to invent the car. He was the first one to have a car and a motor, and it worked and everything was good and it became sold around the world. But there were other people before that who had worked on car designs. They weren't successful, which is often the case. The first people sometimes are not successful. But anyhow, the first plane they flew for 38 kilometers was called the Flyer. That was the name of the plane. And George, right? You have 2 G's, but both of them are G. George is how we say that. And do you remember what a glider is? What is a glider? What's the difference between a glider and a plane?
A glider is when you hang this and you fly.
You hang this and you fly? What do you put a parrot on there? We don't want a cracker. Hang what? No, but there's one main difference between a glider and a plane. They both have wings. They both look like airplanes. They look the same. But there's one big difference. Do you remember the difference? The glider doesn't have a motor, no engine.
Yeah.
Right? The glider just follows the wind. Yeah. That's why we have the human gliders where they hold on to the triangle and they run down a hill and then they take off. It looks like a big kite. Well, that's what it is. It is a big kite. It's a big kite and they glide and then they land it. Kind of dangerous sometimes because they can go really high. And if they don't know what they're doing, it could be dangerous. But anyway, and the other little thing about the reading, I noticed you said 2,500. We only use and with hundreds. So 250, 333, 902, right? Only with hundreds do we use and. All the other numbers, we don't. It's just 2,500, 13,650, right? See the difference? 13,650. It's only in the hundreds that we use and. So I hope you'll remember that. So anyway, let's do some questions on Orville. Well, not just them. This is not really about Orville and Wilbur Wright, but it's about the history of flying. And it all started with a man named who? Who's the first person who started drawing designs? back in the 1400s. Who was that? Most famous.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, yeah. He was the first one who started designing flying machines, and everybody thought he was crazy. But you remember the name of the crazy one he designed? One of the first ones that we can't use?
Ornithopters.
Ornithopter. Yeah, the one where it had mechanical wings. That didn't work. But eventually it turned into a helicopter because that does work. But that's because we got smarter with physics. So I guess that was okay. I kind of messed that up. I'm asking too many questions before I asked the questions because I was going to say, what kind of flying machine did Leonardo da Vinci design? And that was the ornithopter. So one correct. Number 2. Which animals traveled on the first balloon flight?
A sheep, chicken, and a duck.
And do you think it was Donald Duck?
No.
Wasn't Donald Duck? What about Chicken Little? Was he there?
No.
No, that was too long ago. That was in the 1700s too. Would you like to go on a hot air balloon?
I'm afraid of heights.
You're afraid of heights? Oh boy, you better not go in a hot air balloon then. That would be scary. I wouldn't go in a hot air balloon in the 1700s or 1800s. No, thank you. But in the 2000s, today, today I would do it for sure. You don't see too many hot air balloons crashing anymore. All right. What's our next one here? Okay, so we talked about a guy named George Calais. Calais or Calais, I'm not sure. What did George Calais design? What was he known for designing?
He designed many gliders.
Yeah, this is the end of the 1700s and the early part of the 1800s. He was from England. He was an Englishman, and he started, he's credited with designing the gliders. So those were the first planes to go in the air without an engine. Yeah, that's right. I've never been in a glider. I think I'd rather take one with an engine.
I don't want to ride a glider.
No motor. Imagine being in a plane and there's no engines. Yeah, it can be dangerous. So then we talked about a man named Otto Lilienthal. How did Otto Lilienthal die? Because he did die. Well, they're all dead. But he died not by natural causes. How did he die?
He died when he was flying one of his gliders.
Yeah, he was being the test pilot, and he was testing out gliders, and he ended up crashing and dying. That's right. Because now this is like 100 years later, right? Because Calais started, well, he invented the glider first in the early 1800s. It says 1799 to 1850. But Lilienthal, he was in the 1890s. So he was like 40 years later after Calais, and they were still working on gliders, and he improved them a lot. But after 2,500 flights, he died in an accident when he was flying one of his gliders. Dangerous business. Then in the early 1900s came along a guy named Wilbur and Orville. Where did Orville and Wilbur Wright come from, and what did they do?
They come from...
They're dead now. How can they come from anywhere? They're dead. They came from... minus 25 points in grammar.
They came from Ohio, USA,
Yeah.
and they first built their own glider. Then in 1902, they started designing an engine for it.
Are you reading to me?
No,
Because
please.
your memory is like perfect to each sentence. I need you to say it in your words. But that's right. They started studying the work of Calais and Lilienthal, and they decided to try to create the airplane because it wasn't really created yet. And they did. And they created an engine and they managed to do it. That's right. What were their jobs before they became plane inventors? Do you remember?
Huh?
I told you, it wasn't in our reading, but I told you what their jobs were. What was their regular job before they invented the airplane? Perfected, I should say. But they do get credit for inventing the airplane. But before they managed to finish that project and make it happen, what were their jobs? What did they do? Were they farmers? Policemen? Chefs? They were going to work on the
Uh,
Titanic? Do you remember? I told you in
I
class and
don't.
before the test.
I don't remember.
Ever listen to me? Unbelievable. They were bicycle mechanics. Because back then, I think it was this class. Remember, we were talking about when the car got invented and how before the car was invented, of course, the streets were filled with horses and carriages, right? People
Yeah,
didn't have a car, they had a carriage and a horse, right? And then there was
and
poo
they
poo
did.
everywhere. Everything was stinky and everything was loud because the horses everywhere. Was that your class?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so that was the early 1900s too. This is all close. This is all like around the invention of the engine, which changed the world. It stopped the carriage and horse. It was right around there too that they invented electricity. So it stopped all the whale oil lamps. So now we had electricity, and that stopped almost all the whaling and hunting. A lot of things changed. That was the time of Tesla, and Edison. It was a very big time in our history, and that's only a little over 100 years ago. But my point is, or when they invented the plane. So that, no, what was I going to say about the engine? Well, it would have been, I can't remember what I wanted to say now. Sometimes I have to make notes. But, oh, well, yeah, because they wouldn't have been able to build the engine before because they didn't have the technology yet, right? So they were successful too because of the timing. Because in the early 1900s, that's when we started having motors and engines and mechanical stuff. So they probably couldn't do it in the early 1800s. I don't think the industrial age had even started yet. There was something else I wanted to say. Maybe I'll ask the question and answer myself in the edit. Make myself look intelligent. Last question. They were flying. They were the first person. One of the Wilbur went 38 kilometers. Why did Wilbur stop flying the plane after only 38 kilometers?
Because
He crashed?
he he had no more fuel.
Yeah, they ran out of fuel. That was the only reason. Otherwise, he could have kept flying longer. So at that point, they realized, ta-da! The airplane is now invented. So now they just have to perfect it. And look at the airplanes today. Holy macaroni. Do you think there's a plane that can fly all the way around the world without stopping? I don't know. But we can fly halfway around the world for sure because they have flights from Hong Kong that can go all the way to Toronto without stopping. I bet you some of the military ships, planes, they might have one. I think some of their bombers could probably go around the world, because I think they can go like halfway around and then turn around and come back without refueling, but I'm not sure. Or they fuel in midair. Did you ever see that, where you have two planes flying and then this plane drops a cable and this plane comes in and it connects to the plane and they refuel in air? Did you ever see that?
No.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. But anyway, that's it. We're done. Next week, we're going to go to interest
12.
12. That's right. And then we're going to do our lesson 1. And we're going to start anew. I don't know if it's B1 yet, but I think it's upper A2 and B1 combined. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But yes, next week on Mondays now, not Tuesdays anymore. The Tuesday today was only because of the holidays, okay? So next week, it's back to normal. Monday night, 7:15. Okay?
Okay.
All right. If you said no, I was going to delete you. All right. Bye-bye, Glory. I got to go test Hannah now. And I will see you on Monday and Tuesday next week. Good night.
Good night.
Merry Christmas.